For working athletes, I would say focus on one race at a time. Whatever you are signing for, have respect for that, and have respect for the that registration fees which you are putting in when you are signing in.
Hmm.
So you have respect for that and train for it. If you take it as a long term lifestyle, you will keep on accumulating your achievements,
Right.
slowly, slowly, slowly. And
Right.
after, in a span of 5 or 10 years, you will have a lot to talk about. So ride across India is not just riding 6,000 kilometers. It is riding 6,000 kilometers in bad road conditions. There are so many places where the Golden Quadrilateral is under construction. There are so many diversions.
Hmm.
Then riding through Indian traffic,
Right.
riding through traffic in Indian cities. It will change your DNA actually. It will change your mindset. It will change the way you look at life. It will change everything you do further in your life. It will
Right.
just change you forever. You
Yeah.
will not remain the same guy
Yeah.
after doing something like Ram and Trans Siberian and all those things. I used to tell myself that there are other guys who are doing this. That means it must be humanly possible to do this. So when they are going, I also have to go behind them.
I am Baiki Venki, and this is the Working Athlete Podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, time management, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future episodes. Today's guest has a favorite saying that is, be your own hero. But through his actions and accomplishments, he has become a hero and an inspiration for many Indians around the world. He is a founder of Pro Health Foundation. He is a founder and coach at Miles and Milers Endurance Academy, helping hundreds of working athletes get fitter every day. He is an Ironman finisher. He has successfully completed Race Across America on his first attempt in 2017. He has successfully completed Trans-Siberian Extreme Race, a 9,100 kilometer race, and more recently, he successfully became the fastest rider to complete the Golden Quadrilateral Challenge, which is 6,000 kilometers around India by finishing it in less than 14 days. He used this extraordinary ride to raise funds for Lok Biradari Prakalp, providing sports equipment and infrastructure for children of tribal communities. He calls himself a common man with uncommon determination. By what we have seen so far, I don't know about the first part, but the second part is definitely true. His name is Dr. Amit Samath. Welcome to the Working Athlete Podcast, Amit. It is such a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction, Baiki Venki. We all know you by this amazing name. I think everybody knows you. And thanks for having me at the Working Athlete podcast and this whole interview. And thank you for all the appreciation and words, lines of appreciation for me. Yeah, I mean, I actually myself never thought I will be doing all these things, but just like you do something and you get confidence to do something even bigger and better. So I kept on putting my next step forward, and slowly means I started this Miles and Milers Sports Academy, and we started Miles and Milers in Nagpur with approach to provide training to recreational athletes and people from all walks of life to run marathons and do Ironmans and all. and then also organize high quality events in Nagpur area, Nagpur region.
Mm.
That was our actually intention to start with Miles and Milers. We started it almost 4.5 years back, almost now 5 years now.
Right.
So we had initially only three people joining in. So from three people today we are more than 400. We have people on ground who train in Nagpur, and we have online training. So all across India and from other countries also people train with me. This is how we actually started Miles and Milers, and we also organize marathon and triathlon and cycling races in Nagpur. This is what we have been doing for last 5 years, and of course, parallelly, I have myself done Ironmans and half Ironmans, several half Ironmans, almost 16, 17 half Ironmans, and then I did this race across America, and later on Trans Siberian, and now this ride across India.
Yes, we will get into all the details for
Yes, yeah.
audience. Okay. So, you are a doctor in community health or something like that, right?
Yes, yes. I did my MBBS from Nagpur, from
Mhm.
Indira Gandhi Medical College, and then later on, I did my master's in public health from Johns Hopkins School
Public.
of Public Health in US.
Okay.
And I was working in the field of public health for almost 10 years.
Hmm.
And but I used to run marathons and do Ironmans and all, and I used to train pretty seriously. It was a pretty serious hobby. It became a very serious hobby for me.
Yeah. So, where was this working in public health in 10 years, you said? Where were
This
you
was
working?
from 2005 to 2015, and I was working with different organizations. Firstly, I was working with PricewaterhouseCoopers
Hmm.
in their healthcare practice, and then later on, I was working with Access Health International, which is a international health consulting NGO, a public health consulting NGO. And then I was working as a chief operating officer with Save a Mother Foundation,
Hmm.
which was based out of Bangalore.
Okay.
Uh, so I was working with them as chief operating officer, and then I gave up my full-time job and I started Miles and Milers in Nagpur. Just out of passion, I thought I should do something in related to public health and sports, and so I thought, why don't I try something right now in my life,
Yeah.
rather than just thinking about it.
Right.
So I took the decision. I resigned from my job, and then I came to my hometown in Nagpur.
Hmm.
Just with with a dream that
Yeah.
I will do something. We can organize marathons and all, and then there is and it can become a kind of a social entrepreneurial model,
Right.
and I can earn money out of it, and I can earn a livelihood out of it. And why don't I just try it out? Means So that's how and my family also supported me. My wife supported me, and
Yeah.
my parents also supported them. Why don't okay, you want to try? You want just do it right now because this is the right time of your life rather
Right.
than later on.
Yeah. So when did running start for you? Have you always been like
Running
very active?
actually, yeah, actually running started in 2008 and 9.
Okay.
Actually, I used to work in Hyderabad, so I used to train for Taekwondo.
Uh-huh.
I'm actually a black belt in Taekwondo also.
Nice.
So so
There are
my
so many
teacher
things.
yeah, so my teacher used to train me for running, for at least 3 days, 2 days in a week. We used to do a lot of running, running related training. So,
Uh-huh.
for fitness. So
Mm-hmm.
then I thought, why don't I try marathon, like a 10 kilometer or a half marathon and all. And I started doing well in 10 kilometer and half marathon. I did 1:30 in half marathon. So at that time it was great timing, 1:30 in half marathon and all.
Mm-hmm.
That actually motivated me to get into endurance sports.
Right.
And then I started running more of full marathons also. And then out of my just to take up something more challenging, I started training for Ironman.
Okay.
So but
When was this
Ironman,
Iron Man thing?
in 2012 I started training for Ironmans.
You were in
And
Hyderabad at that time?
yeah, I was in Hyderabad at that time. At that time,
Yeah, Sunil Menon,
Sunil Menon was doing Iron Man.
a
So
good friend. Yeah.
that yeah. So Sunil inspired me, motivated me. And okay, at that time I was like total zero at cycling and swimming. I didn't use swimming also.
Right.
Swimming I was zero, cycling I was zero, and running I was good.
Right.
So then I started adding all these other disciplines also to my training program and all.
Mm.
And I started training, and slowly, then I got into Ironmans, and so then I was doing mix of marathons and Ironmans.
Okay.
Uh,
When
and
was your first Iron Man? 2012?
First Ironman was 2012, half Ironman,
Okay.
and my full Ironman was in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
The first
yeah,
half
so
Iron Man was where was this? I-
this was in Phuket,
Okay.
in 2012. Yeah, so
Okay.
at that time, Phuket used to host an Ironman, half Ironman distance.
Right.
So now it is not, that race is not there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
How was it progressing from half iron to full iron distance? Uh, you
uh,
did half iron in 2012, and you continued doing marathons and half marathons in the
yeah,
meantime.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you finally decided to attempt a full iron distance in 2016. How was the training and preparation for it? How was it? You were working at that time, right? So,
Yeah, so when I was doing half Ironmans in 2012, 13, 14, I was only keeping at half Ironman distance because that was comfortable to train also, and it was not breaking my life, and it was easy to train for the distance. And at the same time I was able to keep the balance in between half Ironmans and running marathons.
mhm,
So that was fine, means that worked well, and I was having a full-time job also.
right.
So I thought this is the best balance. And I was improving also on my half Ironman timings. Like I came down from 6.5 hours to 5.5 hours, and 5:15, 5:20. So like that I was improving. So I was happy, with doing half Ironmans, and then and running half or full marathons,
Right.
exclusively running. And then in 2016, when I was in Nagpur, I was starting up miles and milers and all.
Hmm.
Then I thought I have time also to to train for a full Ironman,
Hmm.
and dedicate more time for it. So it was actually a very long gap in between my half and my full Ironman. But actually, I'm happy because when I did my full Ironman, I did it in very nice timing, means in 11.5 hours.
Hmm.
I was able to do my full Ironman in Australia.
Hmm.
So that was a very means so that actually tells the story that if you delay your goals a bit, and you actually learn the sport first, that will help you to do things far more faster and better,
Hmm.
rather than because nowadays a lot of people they do half Ironmans, and within 2 3 months they try to attempt full Ironman also. So
Absolutely.
so So many people without running a full marathon, they will go and do a full Ironman also.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't advise those things.
Yeah.
I think it was good that I had so much of experience with half Ironmans that I
Yeah.
was very fast at my full Ironman also.
Yeah, it
So
also means that you were aware of how to balance things, right? You were doing a full-time job. You were,
yes,
have to balance the full Ironman training with, apart with your running as well as your full-time job as well as family would have been much harder, right? All
yes.
so it was perfectly balanced way to go about it, I think. As
Yes, yes, I totally agree. When I look, means in the past, I think that was the best thing. That is
mm,
why I always tell people that if you want to, get into endurance sports, and if you want to take it up as your lifestyle, then spread out your goals.
right,
Don't be in a hurry. Just spread out your goals. Don't sign up for races because your friends are signing up.
yeah,
So,
peer
so
pressure, right,
yeah, yeah. So I always tell them that go at your pace because your life is your unique life. You
right,
have some unique factors in your life which others don't know.
right,
So just go with your own pace.
yeah, excellent, excellent. So you done your Ironman in 2016 in Australia and at a very good pace. Now, when did this idea about race across America come in? Uh, how
Yeah.
did you end up signing up for that?
Yeah, that is a story which means race across America. Honestly speaking, I never ever thought of doing or dreamt that I can be an ultra cyclist and or cycling tons of 100 to 500, 400, 500, 600 kilometers in a day and all.
Yeah.
So actually, when I was in Nagpur, just when I came back to Nagpur in 2015, this lot of breways, started getting organized in Nagpur.
Hmm.
So they started a Odex club over here, and so they used to do a lot of breways like 200, 300. So I used to go and do some breways also once in a month.
Hmm.
So, but I used to do 200s and all. So, but
Hmm.
I was very fast at 200.
Right.
So everybody used to say that Amit is very fast. He can ride 200 very fast. So one of my friend in Nagpur suggested that why don't you try Deccan Cliffhanger? This is a ultra cycling race which happens from Pune to Goa,
Hmm.
and my friend Sachin Palewar, he said, why don't you try this race? It's a Ram qualifier and all. I didn't even knew what Ram was at that time. So,
Right.
so he said, it's a Ram qualifier and all. I said, and he said, okay, I will sponsor your registration fees.
Uh-huh.
Go and try this. So he actually registered me on his behalf, and then he said, oh, why don't you do this? You are a good rider. Why don't you try this? You might be able to do this. So out of just then somebody throwing me a challenge, I said okay, why I will go and do
Right.
the Deccan Cliffhanger, and then I didn't even knew anything about ultra cycling. That you need a crew and you need somebody who will drive behind you, and
Right.
he will give you food, water, and they will navigate you. There's so many complications in that.
Yeah.
So a lot of preparations needed for all this. So
Right.
I had no idea about all these things, and then I have to, understand this whole racing, this whole way of racing, ultra cycling. That I just have to cycle, and I will have a crew, and they will give me all the support, and I just have to ride. So then I had to assemble a crew. I went there, I did the race successfully, and I did it in some 28 hours. So
Nice.
which actually qualified for me for Ram. So it was big news in Nagpur. that somebody from Nagpur has qualified for RAM and this and that,
Right.
and
When was
and
this? The
this was in 2015.
15
Uh,
itself. Okay.
2015.
Hmm.
Yeah, just had come here in Nagpur for some 7 8 months,
Right.
and and one of my friend, Mr. Bhanu Rajgopalan, then he said that why don't you do RAM? He gave me this idea. I
Right.
said RAM. Then I actually, by that time, I had done some research on RAM. I said it's very expensive and all.
Right.
I don't even have a job.
Right.
I can't do all this.
Yeah.
So but he said, no, 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 Amit, why don't you go and crew in RAM? So
Uh-huh.
he actually motivated me to go and crew in RAM. So I
Right.
went and crewed in RAM in 2016
Mm-hmm.
for that lady Shauna Hogan, who is a
Okay.
very famous rider,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, cycling rider. So
Mm.
I crewed her, and we crewed her successfully for that year. So she
Mm.
was able to do the race successfully after couple of DNFs.
Okay.
So that year, so
Mm.
it was very special for her also,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to see the entire race and how it is done, all those things. And
You
I
got an
came back.
insider view of it from
Yes, yes.
being the crew.
So my friend Mr. Bhanu Rajgopalan, he only said, and he actually sponsored my ticket also to all the way to US. He
Right.
said, I will sponsor your ticket. You go and see the race.
Right.
And then he came back. I came back, and then I told everyone in Nagpur that this is how it is done. This whole race. So then Bhanu sir said that okay, we will do this project. You start training for RAM,
Right.
and don't worry about fundraising and all, and we will do the fundraising for you. So actually, then what happened is it became Nagpur's project. So many people got involved with it.
Right.
That okay, there is a guy in Nagpur who can do race across America, which has never been done successfully so far. So and Amit can do this. So he has already proven in some way, and then a lot of other things started. Other people got attached to the entire project.
Mm-hmm.
So and then I was introduced to Mr. Jitendra Nayak,
Mm-hmm.
who is a industrialist and a person who has a lot of social commitments also. So he does a lot of unique projects himself.
Right.
So he said that okay, I can help you with RAM doing race across America, but you will have to do at least half of the distance in India
Okay.
and show us that you can do half of the distance in a good time.
Mm.
Then because doing 600 kilometer and
Right.
few ways is not good enough that you can do RAM.
Mm.
So then I did 2,500 kilometer ride in India, from
Okay.
Nagpur to Hyderabad, Hyderabad to Bangalore, Bangalore to Hubli, then Pune, from Pune back to Nagpur.
Mm-hmm.
So I did 2,500 in 2016 in
Right.
some 5 days, 5 days, 6 hours.
Awesome.
So yeah, so then all these people got confident that okay, Amit can ride, and he can be a probable for RAM.
Right.
So then all these people started supporting me, and then that is how actually so RAM actually happened.
Right.
Then we went to US and we actually did the race successfully.
Mm.
And But yeah, so RAM was never my dream.
Right.
It was Bhanu sir's, my friend's dream. Which actually I which were like that Amit can do this, and they were
Yeah.
actually put on my head that okay, you are going to do this now,
Right.
kind of
So
thing, and
it became, as you said,
I did
it
that.
became Nagpur's pride and project, right?
Yes, yes.
So,
So that is why I tell, yeah,
and you were able to deliver,
everyone.
which is an excellent thing.
Yeah. So that is why I tell everyone, who wants to do RAM or something. This is not one person's job. Get your community involved, get the people around you involved.
Yeah.
Get everybody involved with project. Then
Hmm.
only projects like RAM or Trans Siberian or like Ride Across India can happen.
Right.
Otherwise, there's otherwise somebody trying to do RAM alone is, I think it's a stupidity. It's just not
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. So because it is more than the economics behind it. It's also all these variables, right? The crews and the kind of preparation that the crew needs to go through and everything. It's totally I think I don't know another way. It's a big circus, right? That you have to manage meticulously.
Yes. So that is why you need more people to get, because you just have to then focus on your training
Hmm.
and your bikes, and you get your equipment ready, and all the other organizing part you will have. You give somebody, create a team,
Right.
people who will look after, crewing, who is going to crew, who is going to come at what time to
Hmm.
crew,
Right.
and how the crew is going to travel, all those things, where you're going to live, where
Right.
how you're going to reach that place. All these other logistics management
Hmm.
has to be taken care by someone else.
Right.
So
What?
it's a massive
Yeah.
job.
You have successfully completed RAM. But what were some of the memories from the race that still remain with you?
Yeah, means a lot of memories means that, see, once you do RAM, you'll always remember RAM every day. There can't be a day where you don't think about RAM, or or something, or some memory related to it. There
Right.
just can't be a day without thinking about RAM. And yeah, RAM is very special because that was first time I did something big in ultra cycling,
Hmm.
and a lot of memories, because I literally was suffering in the desert,
Hmm.
in the Arizona desert. I had a lot of problems with dehydration, and I was and due to a lot of dehydration, I drank a lot of cold water and all to replenish my fluids. So I
Hmm.
got a sore throat. So sore throat gave
Oh.
me fever in RAM. So
Hmm.
I had to ride with fever for almost couple of days in RAM.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of problems, but
Hmm.
but my crew was very strong, and my mother was there. My
Wow.
mother was always there, and she always, she was telling me, you might die doing this, but you have to do this because
Wow.
there is so, yeah, means there was so much of stake for everyone, because
Hmm.
some people had put in so much of their time and money for all this.
Hmm.
RAM was very, I had a lot of hardships, and then later on I had to ride in a storm for almost 12 hours in heavy rainfall.
Wow.
And then when I hit the West Virginia section of RAM, it was extremely hilly. All these things means are extremely. I had problems. I had hallucinations in RAM. All those things which we read about RAM, I went through them in
Right.
RAM, and sleep deprivation later on in. I think yeah, RAM is very special, and especially RAM. Why it is special? Because I was my crew was also doing it for the first time.
Hmm.
None of us had any crewing experience. Only one guy in the crew was experienced.
Hmm.
Otherwise, all the other 15, 16 people who crewed me, they had no experience of crewing,
Hmm.
and they had nothing much to do with the cycling also.
Right.
So their entire objective only was to get me from west coast of America to east coast of America
Right.
within that stipulated time.
Yeah.
So So it was
How did
special.
how did you did your experience as a crew help these your crew to prepare for getting you across?
Yes, yes. Actually, when we crewed, we also learned a lot, like, what kind of facilities the crew should have. And we also understood that when you have a inexperienced crew and all, so you should have more number of people and distribute the, the workload.
Hmm.
Because when you have inexperienced crew, they will not last longer. So if
Right.
you want to last them longer, just distribute the workload and have all the good facilities for them, like food and having good place to sleep.
Hmm.
They should get a bath, so where they should come fresh for crewing. So
Right.
we made sure that all these things are available for our crew,
Hmm. Hmm.
so that when whoever is coming to crew me is fresh for next 8 to 10 hours,
Right.
and then I get another team.
Right. This is excellent because see, you have lived through all the things that you read about RAM, right? In those 12 days, you have gone
Yes,
through dehydration, through the desert, you have gone through hailstorms, you have gone through you had to ride through with fever and hallucinations and everything, and you successfully made it to the finish line with a crew that is not very experienced. But
yes.
what was the feeling like once you made it across the finish line? What was your reaction from your mom and others?
Yeah, very, very, very emotional reactions and all, because we have been working for this project for almost 1.5 year when I did RAM. So it
Right.
was almost 1.5 year of labor, like entire work being done by so many people. Almost 2 dozen people must have worked on RAM
Right.
when I did RAM. People doing all kinds of things, not just crewing. People who are
Yeah.
doing a lot of work in the background.
Correct.
Just coordinating things itself takes a lot of time.
Right.
So it was a very emotional time for my entire family, because my wife was there with me, my son was also there with me.
Hmm.
So, and we had this crew, which was a very inexperienced crew, and we made it successfully. At that time, our objective was, to to finish RAM within that 12 days time.
Hmm.
So, and the best thing, our crew didn't had any penalties or time penalties and all. So even
Hmm.
though having an inexperienced crew, there were no time penalties on our team.
Right.
So that was also another feather in our cap.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. From then you came back and said in 2018 you decided you want to do something of double the distance of RAM, which is a Trans-Siberian race, right? Extreme. That is
Yes,
9,100 kilometers or something.
yes.
So how was it? Like you decided, okay, I done RAM. Now let us double the distance and see what is race, what is there.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm done RAM, and now let us double the distance and see what happens to me if I try to do. Yeah. Trans-Siberian Extreme was like I would say my dream.
Okay.
Once I did, then I got more confident. Like, okay, this is what ultra cycling. This is how you do it, and then I knew about Trans-Siberian Extreme and all, and it was really extreme, the distance and all. It
Hmm.
is extreme, and it is means it is fearful distance.
Hmm.
Even just reading the distance, looking at the map of that race itself, will send you like shivers into your body, like what this is. what
I
what is this? Who can even think of all this?
I know.
So So yeah, it is a horrible distance, and so I was thinking about it for a long time. Like after Ram, I was thinking about it for a month or two, and I started doing Ironmans again, and I was doing Ironmans, and
Hmm.
then. But I was in touch with the race director over there, and he said he had sent me a lot of information about the race and all,
Hmm.
and I knew it's a. He said, "You come here. Means if you have done Ram, you can try this, but
Hmm.
this is a different animal which you are getting into,
Hmm.
and this is not Ram. This is a very different thing."
Hmm.
And then I contacted a lot of riders. There are not many riders who have actually
Right.
attempted this race, but then I contacted few of them, and then I contacted and I asked them about the race, and I also contacted some riders who have not been able to do the race successfully,
Hmm.
and I contacted guys who have done it successfully, how they train and all, and
Hmm.
how they were able to do the race.
Hmm.
So i so i got a lot of information about the race, about the Trans-Siberian Extreme,
Hmm.
and then yeah, it's a really extreme of a race,
Right.
because it goes from Moscow to Vladivostok. It is goes through seven time zones,
Hmm.
four geographically different climatic zones,
Right.
and it goes through and it has massive elevation of almost some 5,000 meters of elevation in the entire
Wow.
race.
Hmm.
So it has a lot of elevation also, even though there are no big mountains in between,
Hmm.
but it has the Siberian terrain is all rolling hills. You
Right.
are like always going like this.
Right.
So entire you will go, you will be like, there will be like a degree or 2 degree grade to the road
Yeah.
for long time. For 2-3 kilometers there will be a grade,
Yeah.
and at the end of that grade there will be a big hill, like
Okay.
this. Then you go down the hill,
Yeah.
and then again you go down the hill,
Yeah.
and then again the grade, there will be a 1 degree grade for a long time.
False
So
flats.
that is, yeah, so that is how the entire terrain is of
Yeah.
Trans-Siberian Extreme.
Uh,
Means it is just, there is no flat
it's a
terrain much.
relentless.
Only, yeah, it is just relentless. It's
Yeah.
like this. It is like for 300, 400, 500 kilometers. The same terrain will just keep on repeating.
Right.
So and then I collected a lot of information and all.
Hmm.
So by 2017 December, I had collected a lot of information and all, but and then I also came to know that, like, this race is not as expensive as, Ram and all, because you don't have to take your crew and all.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is done by the organizer. That's the
Oh.
best part of Trans-Siberian Extreme.
Okay.
Red Bull, that they provide you the vehicles, they will provide you the drivers,
Okay.
they will provide you the food, they will provide you with the medical team, they will provide you with a bike mechanic team, they
Wow.
will have a catering team, they will have a physio team. Everything
Mm-hmm.
is all given by the organizer.
Right.
And then of course you have to pay a registration fees, but
Yeah.
that is not very big in front of what you pay for Ram or something like that.
Right.
So that was the best part of Red Bull Trans-Siberian Extreme, is that it is like the most amazingly organized race I have ever actually done.
Wow.
Means the way they organize, the way, means the day I landed up in Moscow, they
Hmm.
came to pick me up on the airport. You
Right.
know, they came to pick me up on the airport. They took us to the hotels, and they put us in hotels, and they gave us all the facilities, and then they and then they helped us to get ready for the race, and it's amazingly organized race.
Hmm.
Means I've never seen, so just imagine, we were only six riders
Right.
in 2018, only
Hmm.
six riders, and we had a support team of 85 people. you know
Wow. Yeah.
25 people to support six riders.
Right.
And their way of organizing race is, it's just out of the world.
Right.
That is why I tell people, if you want to see how to organize a race or how to organize a support system, this
Hmm.
is Red Bull Trans Siberian Extreme is the example
Right.
of that. And means they are amazingly organized team,
Hmm.
and they exactly know what is going to happen, how and how the entire race unfolds.
Right.
And the drivers are extremely experienced people, and
Hmm.
Russia, extremely nice people these are. And they help you with everything.
So this is like 25 days is the cutoff for the race, is it?
Yeah, so it is not a cutoff.
Hmm.
So the Trans-Siberian Extreme is a stage race. So it's a
Okay.
ultra cycling stage race.
Mm-hmm.
So all the 9,100 kilometers divided into 15 stages.
Okay.
So some stages are like 300, 350 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
Some stages are suddenly 700 kilometers.
Okay.
So like you will have first two, three stages, 350, 400 like this. And suddenly the third stage is like 700.
Mm-hmm.
So you go non-stop 700, 750 kilometers.
Right.
Then again the fourth stage is short, like 300, 400.
Mm.
So in Trans-Siberian extreme terminology, 300, 400 is like a short short
Recovery
stage.
ride.
Yeah, for them it's a recovery ride, and then 700 and 1000 is like, okay, this is the main stage. Okay,
Yeah.
so it is a ridiculously, means horribly, means it is horrible, means some of the stages are so horrible, means it is like planned, like
Extreme.
almost like extreme, like there are two stages where there is back to back 600s, 610, 600, like you will finish 600 kilometers, and then the same day in the night they will start the next 600
Okay.
in the night at 10:30. I mean, it's night 10:30, but it's actually daylight at that time.
Right.
So it's crazy. And then after back to back 600s, there will be a 300. Okay,
Recovery.
and yeah, yeah, and then again after that, and then there is a 10th stage which is 1054.
Wow.
And the 13th stage is even longer. It is like 1364 kilometers.
Wow.
So as the race progresses, the stages actually keep on becoming longer and longer.
Hmm.
So till 10th stage you only do 5,000,
Hmm.
and the next 5 stages you do another 5,000. So it is a very devilishly organized created race, where as you go keep on going further, the distances actually stage distance becoming longer and longer.
Yeah.
And it is
It becomes harder and
horribly
harder.
organized. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it becomes harder and harder, and the elevations also go up.
Hmm.
But it is, I can tell you, it is the most beautiful terrain in the world to
Hmm.
ride. Means I have never seen such a beautiful terrain or geography in my life. Means
Wow.
the kind of sun and sky and forest what you see in Russia is just mind blowing.
Hmm.
Means and we went through Lake Baikal. We went past Lake Baikal, which is world's largest freshwater lake.
Wow.
It
Hmm.
is like a magical place. Means and Siberia and all is so beautiful and so green. It
Hmm.
means there is forest and forest for like 400, 500 kilometers. There is just
Hmm.
forest,
Right.
dense forest, and
Yeah.
you're just riding through forest,
Hmm.
and an amazing terrain. Means I've never seen such beautiful
Yeah.
landscapes
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah. So, did you over these course of these 15 stages, which were like progressively getting harder and harder, did you go through any times where you told yourself, maybe I can't do it anymore?
Yeah, actually, third stage itself, I wanted to quit, honestly.
Wow.
After third stage itself, I got so much of, soreness in my legs and all.
Hmm.
I did a mistake. I got a deep massage done. So because of the deep massage, I got more soreness in my legs,
Ah.
and I felt as if I don't have anything in my legs.
Hmm.
So, but go. It was what happened is the next two stages after the third stage were easy stages. Like just ride 300 kilometers.
Right.
So I said I will just progress in these two stages and just go easy,
Hmm.
and try to eat more on the bike.
Hmm.
So I got through that particular moment, and I think the 10th stage also was very tough, because in the 10th stage we had to ride some 1054 kilometer, and it was all raining.
Hmm.
Almost out of that 1054 kilometers, it was like some 600 700 kilometers of raining only. It was all
Wow.
raining,
Hmm.
and very cold rain all the time, and
Yeah.
I was shivering like anything.
Hmm.
So it was, I think, the toughest, time of my life, riding in that cold Siberian, that rainfall. And
Yeah.
I think that was
Yeah,
another.
riding in rain is one thing. Riding in rain and the cold weather, cold rain
Yeah,
is
that
an
chill, that
extreme,
chill.
right? That chill
Yeah,
is
chill.
completely
Yeah.
goes down to your bones.
Yeah, and for me it was even difficult, because we are from India. These
Right.
other riders, they are from Europe and Russia, so they are
Yeah.
actually used to this kind of a weather.
Uh,
But we don't get this kind of weather in India.
yeah.
So it was a big challenge for, especially. And then Russia is very crazy, even like in some stages.
Yeah.
It was summer in Russia, so in the daytime it used to go up to 30, 32 degrees
Right.
in the daytime, and the night it used to go to 0 and 2 degrees.
Wow.
So it was like, suddenly in the evening,
Right.
it used to, like drop like this, the temperature, and used to
Yeah.
get chilly.
Yeah.
Means crazy weather.
Right. So, were you prepared in terms of the clothing that you needed and for that kind of extreme changes in weather?
Yes, yes. I went with good amount of gear for all kinds of extreme harsh weather conditions riding,
Hmm.
because they had told me that the weather can become really bad in this particular part of the world,
Hmm.
and you will have to ride through really tough cold weather conditions and all. So I
Right.
had gear was never a problem for
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
uh, I think it was just a survival,
Right.
and I used to just believe, that I used to tell myself that there are other guys who are doing this. That
Hmm.
means it must be humanly possible to do this. So when they are going, I also have to go behind them.
That is such a powerful thought, right? That is such a powerful thought, right? So,
Yes,
if it is being done, means that it is possible. So I can also do it.
yes, yes, yes.
That is a really powerful thought to have. So that got you through 10th stage and ultimately all the 15 stages.
Yes, yes. 15. Of course, the 13th stage was also very tough,
Hmm.
because it is 1364 kilometers
Hmm.
straight. It is
Wow.
like almost one fifth, one third of RAM,
Right.
It is like almost one third of RAM at the fag end of the race,
Correct.
1364 kilometers. And after doing that, it is still another some 1050, 1500 kilometers still left in the race.
Yeah.
And the most boring stage is the second last stage, you know.
Okay.
The most boring because you just have to go through it, you know.
Right.
uh, like a mindless guy, you know, just
Uh-huh.
ride and get to the final stage. And final
So
stage is
why
very
was it boring? Is it the terrain wasn't that interesting, or why is that?
boring. Means it is like, you know, once you get through the king stage, that 13th stage,
Ah,
then you know you actually know that you are almost done with the race. Means
right. Yeah.
you are not going to finish.
Right.
And then and then you have this one stage in between, you know,
Right.
in between the final stage. It's like boring, you know,
Before
you have to
before
just,
you are ready to
yeah,
celebrate.
yeah, before we are ready to, you just have to, you know, go through it.
Correct. Correct.
So
I
it is
get it. Amazing, no? So you all these extreme events give you so many memories that last a lifetime, right? You this is
yes, yes,
this is not something that you are going out for a ride in the town, but this is something
yes, yes.
that that kind of images get planted in your brain permanently, like be it the
Yeah, it's like it will
hallucinations or
change your,
anything. Yeah.
it will change your DNA actually. It will change your mindset. It will change the way you look at life. It will change everything, you know, you do further in your life. It will
Right.
just change you forever. You
Yeah.
will not remain the same guy
Yeah.
after doing something like Ram and Trans Siberian and all those things.
Yeah, the common man will become an uncommon man with uncommon determination, like you do. Great. So now coming to the Golden Quadrilateral Challenge that you have completed last week, right? How did
Yes, yes.
this thing come into the picture? So that the you have covered the toughest race in America, and then you have decided, okay, well, let's multiply it by two, and done the Trans Siberian, and so you gave an year or a couple of years gap and decided, okay, I need to do something that is in India, is it?
Yes, yes. So yeah, means, ride across India is very special to me because, you know, we because I had done something in US and Russia and nothing in, nothing much in India,
Hmm.
because India doesn't have anything. So you know, and in during lockdown I had done a 48-hour indoor ride at home, and we
Wow.
did some fundraising for that.
Hmm.
We did a 48-hour Zwift ride on my smart trainer, and
Hmm.
we raised some 2 lakh rupees doing that,
Wow.
and we donated that money to the Nagpur Municipal Corporation and Nagpur Police
Hmm.
during the, you know, our main lockdown.
Okay.
So that actually sparked, you know, some thoughts like I should do something in India. Why don't I do some
Hmm.
kind of ultra cycling ride in India? And I've never done. So we were working on that, and, you know, how it has to be done, and, you know, what should be, what, whether it should be Kashmir to Kanyakumari or something like that.
Hmm.
And then then I thought Kashmir to Kanyakumari is like, you know, too short. It is just 3,600. I need something.
I'm laughing because you're saying 3000 is too short. No, because you have seen the, you have seen a place where race where 300 and 600 are recovery rides. Now
Yeah, yeah.
obviously 3000 is too short. Yes.
Yes, yes. So we thought. So I was, you know, I have this my amazing team. You know, people who I always talk to about, you know, my Ram crew chief and my people who always, you know, support me in ultra cycling.
Yeah.
So I said, no, 3,000 is not much. It should be something big. So I
Right.
said, now then we came down to Golden Quadrilateral. Okay, this is nice.
Yeah.
6,000 is nice number.
Yeah.
Huh? So it is challenging. Means it will really, I will have to really work hard on for it. It
Correct.
will not be easy.
Right.
So I wanted something big number. Means then I said, okay, golden continent is nice, 6,000,
Right.
and then we started, working on it, and slowly but we wanted to do something special. This is right across India. I think for the first time, we have done this kind of ultra cycling ride with live tracking,
Hmm.
and so I got one of my friend, Anirudh, who has a IT company,
Hmm.
so by the name of Empowered Margins. So
Hmm.
Anirudh has been himself been from very long, associate with me, and he has been always been a big support, and
Hmm.
he's also from Hyderabad runners community.
Nice. Hmm.
Yeah, so Anirudh said, okay, I will develop a website for you, and we will, and I will also do the entire integration for live tracking and all. So we
Hmm.
got, we got the satellite tracker and all, and we started testing it,
Right.
how live tracking will work, and we developed a GPS route map,
Hmm.
and then, we started working on the crew. So we got Mr. Jitendra Nayak again. So
Right.
he became our crew director, and so we got a crew. He started working on the crew who will, because 6,000 is very long.
Yeah.
So we divided into two segments, and we created two separate crew teams.
Hmm.
So one team will only crew me from Mumbai to Calcutta,
Okay.
and the next team will crew me from Calcutta to Mumbai.
Okay.
So, we divided the workload, and and so we had around 22 people crewing me,
Awesome.
total.
Yeah.
So we created a team of 22 people, and then we developed, a kind of a image for the ride. We created a logo. We
Yeah.
created, and then we got Red Bull also interested in something like this,
Hmm.
and then Garmin came in, and then Scott said, okay, we can come as bike sponsor for this.
Right.
So I think this is the first time, in India we have done a ride like something. All these companies have come and supported something like this,
Yeah.
ultra cycling ride,
Right.
and we did a live tracking, and we also collected a lot of data, and then I was wearing a lot of sensors.
Hmm.
So I was wearing a heart rate monitor. I
Right.
was wearing a core temperature sensor,
Hmm.
and then I was wearing something called as muscle oxygen monitor.
Hmm.
So which we got from US. So a
Okay.
company from US had sent us
Hmm.
couple of muscle oxygen sensors.
Right.
So I was using these muscle oxygen sensors while riding,
Hmm.
and apart from that, we were also, all my cycles were having Garmin power pedals.
Right.
So we were also measuring how much power output I am putting into the pedals.
Hmm.
So so what happened with this entire sensors is like all the data was collected into the Garmin Edge,
Hmm.
and the entire data is now available on the website also.
Right.
So what was my heart rate, what was my power output, everything is available on the website.
Right.
So what we did is we created live tracking, and we also created an entire biosignature of my ride on the entire 6,000 kilometers.
Right.
And we collected a lot of data on how much calorie intake I was having every on day to day basis.
Hmm.
So this time, we had a massive emphasis on calorie intake,
Hmm.
and that is the reason I was riding so much every day. You
Right.
know, it was all because of calorie intake,
Right.
and that is the reason I've recovered also pretty quickly. Is the calorie intake was very good during the entire ride.
Right.
So. Uh,
So you
that,
were able to get back to like your coaching routine and all like the next day or 2 days later.
yeah. I mean,
I
today
mean,
I
like
went for a run also.
it's like you've done 6,000 last week and you are just back to normal life almost.
Yeah, almost. So the reason behind it is training.
Yeah.
Of course, I trained a lot, and I've matured over a period of this 4 5 years as
Right.
an athlete. And then second reason is strength training,
Mm.
and third reason is the calorie intake.
Right.
And it was not just calories. We were measuring. We were also putting a lot of protein every day. In my
Okay.
food, like I
Mm.
was having protein shakes almost 3 times a day. On
Okay.
the bike, I
Mm.
was I was just gulping down protein down my throat.
Okay.
Uh, means that was another reason,
Mm.
that I didn't lost any muscle mass or any much strength and all, and maybe that is the reason why I've recovered
Right.
fairly very quickly.
Yeah. Talking of training, what sort of training went into the months leading up to this?
Yeah, what I would say, I was doing.
I've
I
seen a
knew I
couple
can.
of 24-hour rides that you have done. Uh,
Yeah, I've done only one 24-hour
One
ride.
24-hour ride. Yeah.
And then mostly all the other rides were like 250 kilometers, 300 kilometers,
Fast pace
and
ones.
yes, fast-paced ones, and
Mm.
mostly the emphasis was on quality training and not
Right.
avoid any junk miles and all,
Mm.
and most important thing, a lot of strength training, at least 2 to 3 times in a week. I was doing a lot of strength training at my home,
Mhm.
and like I have a small gym like facility at my home only.
Right.
So I was doing a lot of squats, I was doing a lot of deadlifts,
Mm.
and I was doing a lot of steps also. I was carrying a lot of weight, and I used to climb up and down the steps.
Mhm.
So I did a lot of strength training, and then I was also doing a lot of indoor training on my smart trainer, you
Okay.
know, or the sweet spot training, SST
Right.
training.
Right.
Just try to be in that sweet spot for 4 hours, 5 hours. So I
Wow.
was doing that kind of training a lot, and I was of course doing twice a week. I was doing VO2 max training, means try
Mhm.
to do a lot of intervals, hard intervals.
Mm.
That was, and I think that has helped me a lot, because if you see right across India data, means my
Mm.
average speed is almost 25 kilometer per hour for entire 6,000,
Right.
which is I think almost as good as means it is good to do RAM very fast
Right. So
actually.
that was what I
Uh,
was thinking, right? Because RAM almost was 12 days with
yes,
4,600, right?
800,
4,800, 4,800.
4,800.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 1,200 more in another 2 days or 1.5 day, right?
Yes, yes. So
It's
actually,
how do you compare
means if you
these two
look at,
rides if you have to?
compare, I would say ride across India is very, very tough than RAM, because may not be that much of elevation, but I can tell you, because our road traffic conditions and our road conditions in India are way too horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have to deal with this crazy Indian traffic behavior.
Mm.
I can tell you, I was like caught up in traffic jams in almost 3 4 cities. So
Wow.
it took me, like 3 hours to get out of Vishakhapatnam. Just to cover a distance of 35 kilometers, it took me 3 hours.
Wow.
And then similarly in Bhubaneswar, another 2 hours.
Mm.
Then similarly another 2 hours in Calcutta.
Mm.
Then again in cities like then I had another major jam in I think somewhere in Varanasi.
Okay.
So again I had to slow down.
Mm.
Then we were able to buy, like, go through Delhi very early morning. We touched Delhi like 4 a.m. So it was easy to get through Delhi.
Hmm.
But as soon as we got through Delhi and we were started going towards Jaipur, we had a traffic jam for almost 5 hours.
Wow.
I was just sitting by the roadside and doing nothing,
Wow.
waiting for my crew cars to clear up the jam.
Right.
I can't do anything. 5 years. So if you, so that 13 days, 9 hours is actually almost 14, 15 hours are all into jams only.
Right.
You can't do much about it. So, but that doesn't happen in RAM.
Hmm.
So, RAM is it goes through very sparsely populated areas of US, and you
Right.
hardly go into any major city in
Hmm.
RAM.
Hmm.
So that is why you can actually do RAM very fast than
Hmm.
as compared to so ride across India is not just riding 6,000 kilometers. It is riding 6,000 kilometers in bad road conditions. There are so many places where the Golden Quadrilateral is under construction. There are so many diversions.
Hmm.
Then riding through Indian traffic,
Right.
riding through traffic in Indian cities, and then also ride across India is facing our Indian heat.
Right.
Indian heat is very different than what we get in RAM.
Hmm.
So and if you see RAM and Trans-Siberian, they don't have any coastal sections.
Hmm.
In this ride across India, there is almost from Chennai to Calcutta is all coastal.
Hmm.
1,700 kilometers of coastal area
Hmm.
of coastal route,
Hmm.
which is windy, which is humid, which
Humid.
is hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ride across India is a very different animal,
Right.
or this golden quadrilateral. It
Yeah.
is not easy, and it is not. If you just look at elevation, it might not be as much
Yeah.
as RAM and all, but
Yeah.
don't go on that. It
Yeah.
is uh,
It's a different beast in the sense that what lacks in elevation is balanced or more than balanced by all these traffic jams and
yeah,
road
all these
conditions
factors.
and
Yes,
all
yes.
these. Okay.
Yes, and there is lot of even though you might think that there is not lot of elevation, but you keep on coming. In the beginning you have Western Ghats,
Hmm.
then when you go from Mumbai to Bangalore, you go through Western Ghats.
Hmm.
You go through Lonavala and all those big climbs,
Hmm.
and then you reach Bangalore, and then once you go towards Vishakhapatnam, you again start climbing
Eastern
from
Ghats.
Vishakhapatnam. Yeah, with Eastern Ghats.
Yeah.
So from Vishakhapatnam till Bhubaneswar, it is all climbed.
Right.
So almost 400 kilometer of hilly terrain.
Right.
And then again from Calcutta, from Durgapur onwards, again you have Eastern Ghats. Those
Right.
mining areas.
Hmm.
Those of Dhanbad and all those areas. It's all
Correct.
mine areas.
Yeah.
So and then again when you come from Delhi towards Udaipur, it is all Aravalis,
Hmm.
and Aravalis have lot of climbs, means
Yeah.
huge climbs in Udaipur and all.
Right.
So it is not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. It might not have like one, huge ones,
Yeah,
but lot
yeah,
of these elevations as well
yeah. I
as
mean,
and also the traffic conditions and stuff.
yes, yes. Traffic is a big problem, and you don't know who is coming suddenly opposite.
Right.
My crew had to be extremely alert.
Yeah.
In RAM, the crew doesn't have to think much about the traffic behavior.
Right.
Because they know, that the traffic is extremely disciplined.
Right.
But in India, the crew has to constantly keep a watch on who is going to come from left,
Right.
who is going to come from left and go from the right of Amit.
Yeah.
There are guys who will do that.
Yeah.
So who is going to come from right and overtake him and go towards left.
Yeah.
So they have to constantly keep a watch,
Yeah.
and they have to tell me that this is coming, that is coming. So
Yeah.
and massive truck traffic in India,
Yeah.
especially from Calcutta to Durgapur and all. So it
Hmm.
is a very big. Means
Yeah.
it is not a easy challenge at all. Means I thought it might be. Means for me also it was a shocker
Yeah.
in many places. So so
Nice, nice. But you got through. How did you one thing, one great thing that I kind of noticed is that through the ride across India through this Golden Quadrilateral Challenge, you
yeah.
also engaged a lot of communities in the places that you went through, right? A lot of
Yes,
people.
yes. So yeah, so it's a massive organizational work.
Yeah.
So I can tell you when so we got Rotary Club in Nagpur interested.
Hmm.
They said that they will coordinate with all the clubs and all across India where we are going, and they
Hmm.
said they will supply food to us,
Hmm.
water to us, and whatever we need. So we had a team which was constantly working to coordinate with all these Rotary clubs
Okay.
to help us. Then
Hmm.
we had a team which was working on coordinating with all the cycling clubs,
Hmm.
in all
Right.
the cities,
Right.
who would like to come and support us.
Yeah.
And then we had a team which was working on nutrition.
Hmm.
Then we had a team which was working on technology.
Right.
Then we had a team which was working on social media, giving all the
Right.
updates,
Yeah.
creating videos, So we
Yeah.
had a very young team of some three, four girls from
Hmm.
Nagpur who
Hmm.
wanted to do this social media thing.
Yeah.
So they are very good at all these things,
Yeah.
creating creatives and all.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you when I was
Yeah.
riding. There were 100 people working parallelly on making this ride successfully.
Right.
To make this ride successful,
Yeah.
in every way. And then we were talking about fundraising for Lok Biradari Prakalpa.
Right.
So there is a ride happening. This technology is working.
Hmm.
There is all these people who are coordinating, and there is fundraising happening all parallelly.
Yeah.
So so this is a means I would say this was a major organizational success for us.
Yeah.
Not just do the ride, but but actually I that is what I would say that
Hmm.
we have set up a new benchmark of doing such rides in the country. You
Definitely.
know means this is a new benchmark. That you can actually means we I'm happy to help somebody who wants to do it this way,
Right.
because we know we have figured out the technology,
Yeah.
what is the technology, what is to be done.
Right.
And we are happy to help anyone who would like to do this kind of ride,
Hmm.
and and showcase his talent.
Right. And maybe ride across India can become a race itself. I don't
Yes,
know.
yes. Means why not? Means that is what we are thinking.
Hmm.
Because now we have figured out the technology and all,
Right.
so we can actually we want to make this. It is not just some exclusive for Amit or something.
Right.
I want to make this available for everyone. All the
Yeah.
people from ultra cycling community
Hmm.
would like to do such rides, and we would. And what the best thing is, we would like to create different versions of ride across India, because we don't want to do the same route every year.
Right.
We might create different routes, every different versions,
Hmm.
and offer to people. Okay, this year we are doing Golden Quadrilateral. Maybe
Yeah.
next time we are doing something else.
Right.
And that will help the ultra cycling community to grow and do these things
Definitely.
in a more organized manner.
Right. And it's something locally that more ultra cycling events are happening now with a couple of 1200s and 2000s and stuff like that. But I think something of this scale, if using your experience and
Yes, yes.
expertise can be brought up here, we can have our own Trans-Siberian thing, right? That is
Yeah,
across India.
yes, and I can tell you, Golden Quadrilateral has everything to offer.
Right.
It has hills. It has it has terrain like Trans-Siberian also. If you go
Right.
towards Bhubaneswar,
Yeah.
it is all like Trans-Siberian extreme only.
Right.
So it has everything to offer.
Awesome. Awesome. Good luck with those plans, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, now coming, we talked a little bit about your strength training and how it helped, get through and recover from hard ride like this. So, are there any, say, two, three key workouts that would help cyclists uh, who are looking to, do strength training?
I think I would suggest a lot of interval trainings on Smart Trainer are one of the best way to improve your cycling
Mm-hmm.
and your cycling, your especially your pedaling discipline.
Hmm.
I think indoor trainer has helped me in a amazing way to improve my pedaling discipline
Right.
because that and then doing a lot of hard intervals on smart trainer indoor and then strength training and and I think the long easy rides is what and always I would say a lot of people think that ultra cycling is all doing junk miles and all and do a lot of just train and train. It is not like that. If it is try to do quality training and invest your time on quality training and recover and then always try to do improve your average speeds for 100 kilometers 300 kilometer. If you are able to improve your average speed for that, then you can do ultra cycling in a very good way, in a very in a very fast way.
Yeah.
Otherwise it and but train whatever you're doing, train 6 months, put a 6 months program in place for training
Yeah.
and uh, and train yourself physically as well as mentally
Right.
and also prepare your crew while training. So
Hmm.
don't train alone just try to get the crew also along with you especially for long rides. Get your crew also crewing you for these long rides because the crew also has to get used to what you eat, what you drink, what is your behavior on the bike, and all those things are very important.
Right.
Uh, do ultra cycling and all is a very big. These are all very big projects. It is not like running a marathon. You go in the morning and after you come back after 3 4 hours and you are at home.
Right.
These are very big projects and you should invest in them and don't take them lightly. Means you should be very serious about any ultra cycling project
Right.
and then only these things are actually happen successfully.
Right. Right. Great, great. So when you talked a little bit about your training, the kind of training you have done, and you mentioned that indoor cycling helped your pedaling discipline. By pedaling discipline, you mean the being able to keep pedaling continuously, or is
Yes,
something
yes,
else?
yeah. Pedaling continuously and also maintain good average speed and also like you a lot of new riders they they coast a
Yeah.
lot and they don't engage their entire leg into the pedal. So
Yeah.
all these things can actually be very easily improved on an indoor trainer.
Right.
Honestly, I am a big fan of. Earlier, I never used to train indoor,
Hmm.
but now last 1 year, I've become a very big fan of indoor training and Zwifting and using different apps and it most importantly it helps me to train any time of the day
Yeah.
and then it also helps me to I don't have to go on highway every day and train myself
Right.
and it helps me to save time.
Yeah.
I think smart trainers are can really improve and are a big boon for cyclists in India,
Hmm.
especially
Right.
because we can save a lot of time on going on highways and it also keeps us safe because you don't get exposed on highways every day.
Right, that is true. And
Yes.
when it comes to strength training, you also mentioned a couple of exercises like squats, deadlifts, and lunges and stuff, right?
Yeah. I do a lot of squats, deadlifts, lunges, steps, and then I do a lot of I divide my strength training into heavy strength training, like, you know, a day where I don't focus on repetitions,
Hmm.
and where I focus more on strength. Means I choose weight which where I can only get 5 to 6 repetitions.
Mm-hmm.
So these are like heavy weights.
Right.
And then on other days I choose weight where I can get 20 to 25 repetitions
Okay.
in the same set.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think this high repetition training is also extremely important
Right.
for building strength.
Hmm.
So I do it in two different ways. One is a very heavy day, and then is a high, moderate, lightweight, and high repetition day.
Okay.
And
When do you do this heavy day, and when you do this moderate high repetition day? Say in
uh,
respect to your cycling activities.
yeah, so I will do moderate heavy repetition day early in the week,
Okay.
and I will do the heavy day before long rides.
Okay.
Uh, because then, even if after doing heavy training, even if my legs are sore, and I just have to do long, easy rides, so
Mm-hmm.
I can still be able to do them
Right.
easily. So I try to do it this way.
Okay.
Uh, and because I have to understand the recovery pattern of my body,
Right.
and then train according to that.
So even when you do medium with a lot of repetitions, you will still be able to do maybe a hard interval ride on the train
Yes,
or
yes,
something.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
that's
yes,
the
yes,
logic. Great,
yes.
great, awesome, awesome. This is, yeah, this is really helpful for the audience. So we talked about your training, your strength and conditioning and everything. So to kind of and you we have covered your experience from Ram, Trans-Siberian, and also the race across India now. And it's been great insights for all the audience. But to cap it off, uh, do you have some tips for working athletes on how they can do well in sport while doing well at work and family lives?
Yeah, I think most important thing is whenever you are for working athletes, I would say focus on one race at a time, whatever event. A lot of people, want to do marathons also, and then suddenly they want to do Ironman, and then suddenly one day they think they want to do ultra cycling. So that doesn't work.
Right.
So if, whatever you are signing for, have respect for that, and have respect for the that registration fees which you are putting in when you are signing in.
Hmm.
So you have respect for that and train for it. So 6 months you are focusing on some major event, focus on that and train, and do try to do quality training. Saturday Sundays keep yourself for training more. Other days you can have quality training, and I can tell you, marathon running, Ironman training will not break your life.
Right.
If you are planning it smartly, and you are very disciplined. If you are training 5 to 6 days a week, and you are very disciplined with your training, and you are working and your family life, then you only have to think only three things: your training, your work life, and your family life. If you think on those only three things, you will be able to do things successfully. Means you will be able to run faster marathons or Ironmans. And ultra cycling is something different. You might be able to do it. Means you not everybody wants to do ultra cycling, but if you want
Right.
to get into ultra cycling, then take it as a 6 months project, get it done, and again return back to normal life.
Right.
So you just focus, and I think 24 hours are good enough to adjust everything.
Right.
Just be disciplined with your time management, and uh, and train, and take it as a lifestyle, as a long term lifestyle.
Yeah.
And if you take it as a long term lifestyle, you will keep on accumulating your achievements,
Right.
slowly,
Right.
and after, in a span of 5 or 10 years, you will have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So that is what I would suggest.
Great insights, Amit. It's been a fantastic chat with you. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing your journey, your insights, and your valuable inputs for all the working athletes.
yeah, thank you.